Inside Crime is brought to you by doTERRA. The doTERRA drug deactivation pouch provides an easy and effective way to dispose of unused or expired medication. Learn more at doTERRAsystem.com. I'm Angeline Hartmann. I've spent my career as a journalist covering some of the worst crimes in history. My craft is storytelling. My passion is crime fighting. Now I'm bringing you more stories, candid conversations with crime victims, their families, and law enforcement. We'll journey together as we learn what happens inside crime. Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Inside Crime. I'm so excited you're here to kick off this podcast with me. Our first guest is Drew Kesse. His daughter Jennifer is missing. She was 24 years old when she suddenly vanished from her home in Orlando, Florida, almost 13 years ago.
Jennifer Kesse vanished from her condo near the mall at Millennia in January of 2006.
We're continuing to receive tips and leads in this case. We're continuing to work it, so it's not a cold case.
So this is the area where Orlando police, with the help of an independent search team, looked for any trace of Jennifer Kesse. This is the corner of John Young Parkway and Millennia Boulevard.
Was Jen the female that was desired? Was she targeted? We don't know. We don't have answers.
Jennifer's case is a heartbreaking story, but there's so much more that doesn't make the news. The ripple effect from a crime like this and the impact on the family is impossible to understand. When Jennifer vanished, it was 2006, and I was working at America's Most Wanted when I first worked on this case for the show. And since then, I've been following the case in the news. And in January of this year, on the 12-year anniversary of Jennifer's disappearance, Orlando police announced they were assigning a detective to work exclusively on her case. The department also posted a video on YouTube. I'm going to play some portions of it for you. First, you'll hear from Police Chief John Mina, and then Detective Teresa Sprague. That's the detective now assigned full-time to find Jennifer Kesse.
And on this anniversary, we are enhancing our focus on this investigation and asking anyone with information to come forward and help us solve this case.
I cannot explain how excited I am to start this process from the beginning. To fully re-examine her case as a detective, I've been in homicide now for 7 years, and to fully re-examine this from the beginning based on all the experience I have from other cases has led me to this point. So what can we find out from the very beginning, to look over all of these files, to look over all of the tips? Is there something in these files that we missed? Is there something in the tips that if we examined them from the beginning through today, over the last 12 years, is there a pattern that will develop that will lead us to either her whereabouts or the people responsible for her disappearance?
Police say Jennifer's case is an active investigation, and they're doing all they can. They say it's a priority for them. But as you might be able to understand, after 12 years, Jennifer's family is very disappointed with the fact that there's a lack of answers all these years later. So Jennifer's family is now asking that the police case files be released. The Kesse's family wants to conduct their own independent investigation. But the police chief says that's not their practice, and handing over case notes or files could set a dangerous precedent and could jeopardize this case or other cases. Jennifer's family says they're not giving up. Right now, I want to read a small portion of an email I received from Drew Kesse when I asked him to be a guest on Inside Crime. I think it will give you some insight into that ripple effect I was talking about earlier. I want to mention that he did give me permission to share this with you. Here goes. Angeline, I like your angle of backstories. For most crimes, it truly is much more intriguing than what we see. I just don't ever want to come across as, oh, poor us. We can make anyone shudder and cry by what we have been put through. We can tell stories that would be very hard to believe, but we just don't count. Jennifer does. But again, we are no closer to finding Jennifer than we were on day 3 over 12 years ago. Someday very soon, all of our funding will be gone. Home will be sold, and then if Jennifer is still missing, her story will die, because money is also a huge part of an ongoing missing persons case on so many levels. And if one doesn't have funds to do the things needed to do, they will go undone, and the case will fade into history, as so many have. That's just part of Drew Kesse's email to me, and I have to tell you that when I first read that, it brought me to tears. Drew Kesse joins us now on Inside Crime. Thank you so much, Mr. Kesse, for giving us your time today on Inside Crime.
Thank you, and thank you for having us this afternoon.
Jennifer has been missing for more than 12 years now.
Correct, yeah.
And I remember the day the week she disappeared, I was at America's Most Wanted, and we were immediately, trying to help. Right. And I never thought back then, as I'm sure you didn't, that we would be here today.
Never, ever. It's incredible even to try and get your head around at this date. So no, we didn't expect it.
For those people who may not be familiar, what can you tell me about Jennifer?
And she is from New Jersey, born and raised. So she was stubborn. She stood by what she believed in life. Had an incredible amount of friends, and I've said it year after year. I honestly and truly mean it when I say that I wish everyone could have a daughter like Jennifer. Yes, you have your ups and downs and all that with any kid, any child that you have, but she was a dream as far as kids go, and just an incredible young adult. She lit up a room. Wherever she went in, she was always smiling, and she just cared. It was just within Jennifer to care. It was phenomenal to see her grow, and I think she made Joyce and I and Logan grow just as much all along the way. But she was just a dream to have as a child.
For those people who may not be familiar with what happened to Jennifer, can you give us a brief timeline?
Sure, absolutely. January 19th, Jennifer and her then boyfriend, who was a long-distance relationship, he in Fort Lauderdale, her in Orlando, went to St. Croix for a long weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, with a friend and that friend's family. She had a great time. She called me 3 times from the island, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're only there for a few days. Come on, enjoy. Our honeymoon was in St. Thomas, and she went to St. Croix, which is right next door, so she thought that was really cool. But at any rate, she had a great time. She came home on that Sunday night, the 22nd of January, and went to work the next morning, January 23rd, and went all day through work, everything, and she had a meeting at the end of the day with her boss, and the day ended. Her boss and herself basically walked out to the parking lot, said goodnight to each other, and she traveled home. On her way home, we do know that she went through a toll booth. We do have that information. But when she got home, she called us. Everything's fine. She absolutely loved it. I mean, no, everything was absolutely fine. We hung up. We do know that she spoke with, obviously, her mother, her brother, myself that night. She also spoke with a few good friends to tell them about her weekend and all that good stuff. The last person she spoke to on January 23rd, 2006, at 9:57 p.m. at night was her boyfriend. After that, everything was fine. And the next morning, I guess it was approximately 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, Joyce, as well as myself, we both got alternate calls from Jennifer worked at a company, the company she worked at also was a friend of mine who is the CFO there. And he called myself about 11 o'clock in the morning on January 24th, 2006, and asked if everything was okay with Jennifer. And I said, well, sure, why? And he said, well, she didn't show up to work today. I said, well, she'll answer my call no matter what. And I said, let me call her. I'll be right back in touch with you. So I hung up the phone with him and immediately called her. And we gave her a cell phone when she was 16 years old, probably 15 and a half when she first started to drive. And the law with both my children were, if your mother or your father calls you on this cell phone, we don't care what you're doing, where you are, you answer the phone. Otherwise, there's going to be hell to pay, period. So it was the first time. Yeah, well, it was the first time since she was 16 years old that we called her, and it did not even ring 4 times. It went straight into voicemail. Huh. And from that point, both Joyce and I knew something was wrong.
Right then.
Right then. Absolutely. That had never, ever, ever happened before. And if Jennifer was ever going to be 5 minutes late to work, being the responsible person that she was, she would have called her boss and said, I'm going to be 5 minutes late to work. She was expected at a morning meeting, which she didn't make, which is why we got the call that day. And since that point, we pretty much ran out the door with Logan. I had to go pick Joyce up at work. I worked out of my home. And we were rushing up. Joyce worked about an hour away. Orlando was a little over 2 hours away. And on the way there, I called the condo management office and asked if they can go down and see if her car was in her parking space. They went down and said, no, the car's not in her parking space. I said, I need you to go in her condo to see what's going on. We cannot get her.
And at this point, you're thinking, who knows? Maybe she,
I think she
fell in the kitchen or
something.
Fell
in the kitchen, had an accident, anything. By the time we started driving, we were calling hospitals and calling jails. We didn't know. We called anyone and everyone we possibly could. Called her all of her girlfriends, see if they could track her down, but it was just completely constant for 2 hours. So we asked the management to go in. He said, well, I need to get someone else. I can't just walk in your daughter's residence. She owned it. And I said, well, go get whoever you need, but I need for you to get in there. And it took about 5 or 10 minutes. And he came back and got in the place, and he was on the phone with me when he went in and said, everything pretty much looks fine. She's got a suitcase sitting right inside the door, and there just doesn't seem to be anything out of place. I said, okay. And we ended up there probably about 45 minutes after that, around 1 o'clock or something like that. And our first encounter with police was, well, she probably had a fight with her boyfriend. She'll be back, and I'll never forget that. And we said, you are mistaken. And it took about 4 more hours of calling people to call people in Orlando before we finally got a detective out at her residence at about 8 o'clock at night. During that time period, at 4:30 p.m., we were already on the corners in Orlando passing out flyers of Jennifer's face and a telephone number in which to call if you have seen her, because we did not accept the police's response.
When family members say, hey, this is serious, please pay attention, we need your help.
Correct.
Well, oftentimes, police officers, give it more time.
Well,
and you can understand a little bit, but sometimes family really does know what they're talking about.
And I think they know that now. So at any rate, the police, we finally got the police there. And by that time, we had called all of her friends, our friends. We had people coming in from all over the United States. When the police finally took us serious, which was about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, we had about 14 people in her condo. Police walk in and say, well, we can't use this as a crime scene. I'm like, what do you mean you can't use this crime scene? Take our prints, ask us to leave. Well, you have a murder in a bar. What do? Walk out because there's too many people? Are you kidding me? So they really didn't not take us seriously, but they just were roundabout things. They really were just roundabout things. Until the next day, when things started to shape up and people started talking to the police and they realized that, no, something is really drastically wrong here. This girl just doesn't take off. She's very responsible.
It's out of character.
Totally out of character. I mean, Jennifer was very safety conscious to the point where she made what we call safe telephone calls. If she was going to Target by herself, she would call her girlfriend or us and say, "Hey, getting in the car, hang with me." I'm like, "Okay, not a problem." She'd have someone on the phone while she got in the car. She'd have someone on the phone while she walked into Target. She'd have someone on the phone when she walked out of Target. Jennifer was the safest person that we know, period, end of story. So we knew something was drastically wrong. The police put a bolo out, and I think it was 2 days later or third day later, someone called the police and said, "I think I see her car."
Inside Crime is brought to you by doTERRA. The doTERRA drug deactivation pouch provides an easy and effective way to get rid of unused or expired medication. The doTERRA pouch makes addictive drugs like opioids unusable in minutes. Just place the medication in the pouch and mix with water. Be a part of America's solution to reduce drug abuse. Learn more at doTERRAsystem.com. Stay safe, stay ready with doTERRA.
Someone called the police and said, "I think I see her car." And it turned out that it was Jennifer's car. It was 1.2 miles down the same road she lived on. It was dropped off in a very heavy drug-infested condominium complex. But where she had a big, beautiful, brand new condo, they didn't have security cameras up yet. They put them up 2 weeks after she was taken. And where the car was dropped off, they had 30-year-old cameras. And we were able to catch. And if anyone wants to go on Jennifer's website, find jenniferkesse.com, they can see that film. We have that film. NASA and Target have done the best they can with that film. So what we have is what we get. And it's very grainy. You really cannot see anything other than a person walking around a pool fence, getting out of Jennifer's car. At one point, comes around to another camera, and that person is caught behind the fence, where we could see that person a little clearer, except it was a security camera that took a picture every 3 seconds. Every 3 seconds, the person who dropped Jennifer's car off was behind a fence post with the face. We could not see the face whatsoever. To this day, we cannot see the face. To this day, nothing could be done to that picture, as we're told, to improve it.
Mr. Kesse, I have to tell you, I remember the moment I saw that surveillance video. I called my colleagues over and I said, "Look at this. Every single capture at that person is just it's just at the very millisecond.
Haunts me to this day.
It was so frustrating to watch that.
Yeah, and when that was released, the first detective said, "We will never release that film ever." And we fought. They retired. And the next detective that came in said, "No, we're going to release that." But at any rate, we did get that film. And to this day, it just simply has not helped us. Now, Jennifer's work had put out $1 million reward a few times. I put one out myself and didn't even have a dime. Just put one out there. 500,000, $250,000, 100,000. She now has $15,000. For any information leading to where Jennifer may be. But Joyce and I are here to tell you that, 12 years and almost like 8 months later, that Jennifer is very much vanished. Vanished. The things that we've gone through with Jennifer is just amazing. If you can think of it, it's happened to us. If you can think of anything. I mean, we've put 2 people in jail from threatening my son's life and my wife's life. We've been lured probably 3 or 4 times to Colombia or South America. We've been attempted extortion probably 5 or 6 times. We were able to spearhead 4 laws. We didn't even have policies and procedures for missing people in the state of Florida in 2006, but we changed that with the Jennifer Kesse Tiffany Sessions Missing Persons Act of 2008. So, although some good has come, with future people who are in this situation, nothing has helped Jennifer to this point, and to this very second, she remains so missing. Speechless.
speechless. I don't.
I mean, we're to the point, just so you know, that we are about to bring suit against the Orlando Police Department because we've now hired lawyers and a private investigator, very good one, and they will not let us in the files. We've done everything that we need to do through law, legally, to get the files, and a slap in the face, they sent us total redacted files. So, we're fighting on all angles now, and it is sad. But, we're going to do what we need to do to give Jennifer the best chance of being found, period.
Getting back to the files, so your objective is to get the investigative files so that your personal private investigator can review those files and take on the investigation?
Correct. He's already taken on the investigation. We have gone so far as to ask the chief of police, I don't want to see him. I don't need to see him. I need people who know what they're doing to see them. And I think we have those people. We've done absolutely everything that they've asked us to do. I mean, I've been on death row mic'd up because they asked me to do it. I've spoken to everyone on earth. I've been on porn sites because they've asked me to do that. And it's just, they're sitting with a family that has done nothing but be proactive for not only Jennifer, but for almost any missing person in America, to be quite honest with you, with the things we've come and done. And we still fight.
I don't even know what to say, Mr. Kesse.
We have financially gone through what we have. And we have a GoFundMe site just to be able to have a lawyer and a PI to be able to try and do this. Because truly, we want to talk about backstories. And I think it's true in any missing persons case gone a long time. When the money is gone, it will whittle away. It will invariably just become another story. And that's what's happening with Jennifer. We haven't had the money to fight the way we need to fight for Jennifer. It takes millions of dollars to do what has to be done. But I wrote a letter about 8 years ago to every embassy in the world asking for help to try and find my daughter in case she was taken out of this country, because I couldn't get the FBI to help at the time. And then it took me 2 years to get a yellow sheet out on Jennifer, which is an American missing abroad. And I was told for 2 years that was done until I proved that it wasn't done. For 2 years. Could you imagine being told by law enforcement, sure, it's there. Prove it to me. Where is it?
No,
it's not there.
No.
But, we can go down this. This doesn't matter. Okay, what matters is Jennifer and Jennifer being found. And that's for the good or the bad. We're here just to know, is Jennifer here or not? We can't live in limbo. No one can live in limbo every single day not knowing where a loved one is. Through a heinous act of abduction. She didn't walk off. She didn't get mad and say, I don't want to see my family anymore. She was taken. God bless her.
And, you talk about how she's so safety conscious,
Completely.
So, Mr. Kesse, when we talk about the theories of what happened to Jennifer, I'm sure you've heard them all, sure. and many, thoughts have come through your mind, but is the thought that something happened to her inside her condo and she was abducted there, or as she approached her vehicle in the parking lot? And what do you think happened?
Well, there's myself, my wife, and my son, and you can ask us that question. You'll probably get 3 different answers. And I think you find that a lot with missing people. But what do I think? For forever and a day, honestly, I think Jennifer has been trafficked. I think she was picked out because she was a single young woman living alone. And very easy. There was only 2 or 3 people living in her building because it was a conversion into condos, home ownership at the time. So really no one was there. But I believe that she got ready for work. I believe she walked out her door. And she probably had the opportunity maybe to close the door. But between her front door and her car door is where I believe it happened. And in fact, when this happened, when Logan got on her property, he started banging on every single door in the complex. And the only door that was unlocked in the entire complex was the condo door right across from Jennifer's. Right across. So that haunts us to this day, too. That was someone in there. They've had dogs in there, and they say there's no hits in there for anything or what have you. But, you know, it's people looking straight out across, and the only door in the entire complex not locked.
Mm-hmm. And what about any evidence inside her car?
We don't know what's inside her car. They haven't. I know what's inside her car because I used to clean her car. You know, I've seen pictures of the inside too, and I saw the car when they found the car. So I know what's basically inside the car. There is no evidence within the car. They came across a latent fingerprint that is not showing up anywhere. And they came across a minuscule piece of thread DNA or material DNA or something like that they said they really can't use unless they really get to a certain point. And I say, well, I think we're at that point. You know how many people are being found by DNA right now? Almost every week we're finding someone 20 years, 30 years old case, you know. Yeah. And that's another thing. They refuse to make Jennifer's case cold. Because if Jennifer's case is made cold, then anyone can get into the files. All right. We're not asking for that.
Your theory about what happened to Jennifer, you know, is one that could have possibly happened. 99 different things could have happened.
Absolutely. I mean,
but especially now these days with so much focus on human trafficking, you know, I think people are more prone to believing or more open to that possibility.
Well,
whereas before maybe they weren't.
Well, you know, I think people have to understand that trafficking in America is an $85 billion a year industry that we know of. It happens in your neighborhood, wherever you are. It's happening in your neighborhood. I hate to say it. I was naive to everything. I was never arrested, never in a fight in my life, nothing in my life. And through Jennifer's trials and tribulations, the things that I have seen and learned are absolutely amazing.
Mr. Kesse, can we talk about the laws that have been changed because of this?
Sure.
Because I don't think people understand what the laws were before and how your family has helped and worked to change them for the better.
Well, we found out real quick that in 2006 in the state of Florida, there were absolutely no policies and procedures for police to follow. Nothing. It was the old, well, we're going to wait 72 hours. And if your missing person happens to be adult in 2006, you're just out of luck. They just don't have to look for them. Adults are allowed to be missing. Well, they're not allowed to be missing anymore in Florida. We were able to pass the Jennifer Kesse Tiffany Sessions, and Tiffany Sessions is another young lady that has been missing in Florida since 1988 without a trace. And her mother has been an incredible advocate for those missing. But at any rate, we were able to pass that law, and that law did a few things. Number one, it did make policies and procedures that police have to follow. It did require that police had to get information into 4 different databases, local and national, within 2 hours of having to take a police report of a missing person. And then all the follow-up things that you need to do as far as police. So we force them. This is what you have to do. It didn't help Jennifer, obviously, but it's helped many people since then. We were able to establish, with Governor Charlie Crist at the time, the Silver Alert, which is very much like the Amber Alert, but for elderly people and dementia, people with dementia, and the state of Florida. And he, through executive order, wrote the Silver Alert, and to this day, every single person has been found except one that has been utilized on the Silver Alert. And in this state, we use it about 20-1 against the Amber Alert. It's used all the time here, and it's fabulous that we get to find these people and bring them home. So, those are the things that we have helped with. And we also were involved with, it used to be 1,000 feet for pedophiles to come within range of a school. And we were able to push that out to 2,500 feet, just push them away a little farther, things like that. But it's all personal safety stuff, and I don't think we're getting any better since 2006. I have to be honest with you. I think at this point, the FBI is more interested in terrorism and ISIS. And I've tried to relay to them that this is terrorism. If you don't think that Jennifer and this family has not been terrorized and continues to be terrorized when we get letters to our house on a constant basis that this is what happened to your daughter, she's cut up and she's in this water or down this sewer, and everything else that you can think of in between. It just, it has not stopped. And that's another thing that I think people probably don't realize. I don't know how it happens. I don't know another missing family that just keeps getting, I don't know what, thrown at them. And we're tough enough to take it. I mean, we're going to find Jennifer one way or the other, period. That's all there is to it. Until I die, we're going to do it. Period. She's Daddy's little girl. Always has been. Always will be. And I will fight tooth and nail. Period.
Mr. Kesse, I know people have asked you this before, but if you could say anything to her, you never know. You never know if she can hear this.
We've tried so hard, Jen. And I know you're going through nothing of what we've gone through whatsoever, and I'm just so sorry. I'm really sorry that I have not been able to find you as your father, and ultimately I am responsible for finding you, and I will. But I love you. We all love you. We miss you, and we are still coming for you, and whether it's for the good or the bad, we will find you, and we will bring you home where you belong. And we will not rest until we do so. So if you still are there, stay strong. We've tried. We are trying. And someday we are going to find you. And we love you so much and miss you.
Mr. Kesse, I do believe that you are going to find Jennifer. I believe that with all of my heart. And we will continue to pray for you and your family.
Thank you.
And please know that there are people all over America that support you and your family.
And we feel it. We really do. We feel it, and we thank you so much. We really, it's tremendous feeling. But we'll
Thank
get that
you,
one
Mr.
person.
Kesse.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
For more information about the disappearance of Jennifer Kesse, the website is jenniferkesse.com. Kesse is spelled Kesse. That's K as in kilo. And that's it for this very first episode of Inside Crime. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. We welcome your feedback, so feel free to get in touch. My Twitter handle is AngelineDC. If you have any ideas about a topic for a future show, just go to our website, insidecrime.com, and send us an email. Again, thank you so much for being here. I'm your host, Angeline Hartmann. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode of Inside Crime.